My name is Nico Lagan, and I'm too conservative for the conservatives. My co-host Rob Ambrose, not woke enough for the liberals. So we are the Political Orphans. Today on the show, here are our main two topics. First, question for you. Has Canada turned its MAID program into an organ donation supply chain? And at 8:30, we are joined by none other than Maxime Bernier to speak about what it feels like to be reported to the police for hate crime. Get your comments ready because the show starts now. What's going on, man?
What's up, brother? Yeah, I totally forgot about that. We got Mad Max today.
Yep.
Should be a good chat. Always good to see.
Yep.
I mean, we had him on months ago. One of our first big interviews, actually.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely bang on, bro.
A long time ago. Yeah.
It feels like a long time ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Well, I mean, it'll be a year soon enough. When will we start?
Yeah.
January?
We are 174 episodes in.
That's a lot, man. That is a lot of episodes, especially because like 98% of them are 2-hour episodes.
Oh shit! Some of them were like 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah, I remember. At the beginning, we didn't even limit ourselves to 2 hours. We were going 2.5, 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Whenever when we're like, I'm tired. We're done.
Oh man, yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah,
so talking about that, just right now, we started shortening it to. I remember it was something to shorten it to 2 hours. We're like, hey, are we gonna have enough time? And starting this week, we are shortening them to 1 hour. We're trying to be concise. We're trying to be within confined because at the end of the day, we want this show to become more popular. Unfortunately, not working well with the algorithm when you're at 2 hours, and I don't believe that anybody's going to pick us up if we have a 2 hour 2 hour ish program.
Yeah,
no
one's got any
become better.
Span. No one's got any.
No. So yeah, organ harvesting in Canada, and Maxime Bernier speaking about censorship or hate speech or hate crime. Actually, it's in this case. He's been reported for hate crime nonetheless. So
hate crime, not even hate speech, hate crime.
Hate crimes. Oh yeah. I have the post. You'll see it's yeah. I saw the post. I'm like, oh boy, I said way worse. But I'm not the head of a party, so
yep.
They don't care yet.
No, that'll be good. What so what was the first topic again?
This is the weirdest thing, man. MAID, obviously, the medical assistant in dying.
Yeah.
So we'll jump right in this, and if we have time, I'll show you something else. But so this crossed my X account today. I'm gonna bring it up here. I followed the girl that made the post. Let's put that back in. Poop. Here is the post that she made. So you see the article here says that Canada's turning its assisted suicide regime into an organ donation supply chain.
Yep.
So it's reported that right now a 38-year-old man with ALS was euthanized through MAID. 7 minutes after his lethal injection, his heart was reanimated, flown to the US, and transplanted. They're calling it a medical milestone. I call it what it is: harvesting the vulnerable. That's what she's saying, and I agree with her 1,000,000,000% that how insane is this that they're harvesting organs from MAID patients, and this is not, bro, and this is not a conspiracy theory. I actually hold on here, so let me see. Here is the definition, and it is not called harvesting. Obviously, they're not coercing anybody. There's nothing unethical about this, right? That's what they're claiming. But since being legal in 2016, eligible patients, those who meet certain criteria like unbearable suffering from grievous, irreversible conditions, can choose to donate organs or tissues post-procedure, coordinated by provincial transplant organization like Trillium Gift of Life Network in Ontario or BC Transplant. Don't you love the word? Trillion Gift of Life Network. We're harvesting your organs, bro. Or BC Transplant. This has made Canada a global leader in such donation, with protocols ensuring death is confirmed before retrieval.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'd like to see the fine fine print a little bit more. I don't, I wouldn't go as hard as that piece. I wouldn't use the word murdered. I assume at some point he asked for this. And, that said, I'm very uncomfortable with this idea that, this mission creep from MAID. We've talked about MAID, me and you, on the show a lot. And I think we both could see a case for it, right? We see how there could be a need in some patients. I think you would discuss your stepfather or someone close to you who you believe MAID might have been appropriate for. He was older, he was terminal, he was in sound mind, and he made the decision, and he wanted to die at a time and place of his choosing, surrounded by people he loved. And in that case, I don't have a problem with it. The problem is, there's been this mission creep. It's not been that. So first, that was all they said it was going to be. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, now let's start, offering it to the mentally ill, not just terminal old people. And now teenagers, fucking mentally ill teenagers, they're all fucking mentally ill, man. They're teenagers. That's the thing. You know what I mean? They're teenagers. And just the incentives built into it. Again, if someone goes out of their way to choose organ donation and has made a made decision in sound mind, and they're, older, they're terminal, again, I don't have an issue with that. But what I just feel like the incentives are too strong for abuse of the system, and it's almost inevitable. And so that's sort of where my opposition to it comes from. In theory, I think it could work, but in practice, it just can't. Kind of like communism.
But you laugh, but MAID does sound like something that was thought of by communists.
Yeah, sure.
And then capitalists are like, hey, maybe there's money to be made.
There's money to be made.
With that communism stuff.
You can imagine some dark rabbit holes, right? Like if you think of the capitalists, once they're thinking about people making money from this, because organs, that's big business. That's a lot of money. And old people, terminal patients, 70, 80-year-olds, their organs aren't really worth anything. So once you introduce MAID, it gets pretty dark if you imagine that there's a few people sitting around like, you know what, we got to get a way to get some younger people because that's where the valuable organs are. And then they start bringing in, well, let's say mental illness. Let's say teenagers, right?
Sorry, it is not called teenagers. Use the proper vernacular.
Well, yeah, what is it? It's this dystopian...
Mature minors.
Minors, yes. Oh, God. Mature minors. It's just...
mature minors.
Once you label them that, then of course you can kill them. Or of course they can decide to be... Of course they're old enough to decide if they want to continue living. The reality is there's no minor mature enough to make that decision.
A person under the age of full legal responsibility, not old enough to drink, to smoke, to vote, but old enough to know that they should kill themselves. That is what we call a mature
minor. Yes.
That is so dystopian.
Yeah,
that is so dystopian.
It's really Orwellian. It is. It has that smell of new speak, right? Of right think.
So I asked Grok, right? Yeah. I asked Grok this question. Are the Liberals trying to push MAID to mentally ill teenager? No. The Liberal government in Canada is not pushing to expand medical assistance and dying to mentally ill teenager. It is trying to push it to mature minors.
No, it did not say that. Did it say
it goes on. It's like, Claims circulating on social media are often exaggerated or misinterpreted. Official policy and liberal position focus on adult eligibility only for mental illnesses expansion with a firm delay until March 2027. For minors, any exploration is strictly limited to mature minors. That is what Grok is saying. So it's saying no to my teenagers, but it's saying yes to mature minors. So even AI is full of...
So essentially, a mature minor is just any teenager who has agreed to do MAID. Basically, they're like, "Wow, that's a very mature decision. That must be a mature minor."
So the mentally ill adults only is delayed until 2027.
Yeah.
You know that when that happens, man, the organ harvest. Because right now, if you look at MAID, most of the people that are killing themselves are older. They have some type of problematic that could be cancer, that could be something serious.
Yeah, they're terminal, right?
So, but man, just to put it into perspective, like it's not a small number. We're talking about, since its inception in 2016, there has been 76,801 people that have received MAID. That's such a... Let's call a spade a spade.
Like it's a service, right? It's a service.
Yeah. I've been made. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You've been made.
Great service. Great MAID service.
Yes. Sir, would you mind taking this 2-minute survey after your service?
Yeah,
Let us know how we did.
Let us know how.
Let us know.
Yeah.
You like that after your service?
Yeah. They're doing you a favor, right? They're doing you a favor.
But you're talking about 76,801 people have received MAID at the end of 2024, and look at those numbers; they're only going higher. Like up.
Well, yeah, I mean that's an exponential trend right there.
But can you imagine? Can you imagine now that a mental illness is going to be enough? And considering that today anything is a mental illness, it was too sunny outside. I felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm mentally ill. Mm-hmm. So it just never ends. Never ends. And tell me, if they're already harvesting, and I saw some numbers, it's been reported, the numbers were something like, as per the end of 2022, it was around 245 people. 235 people had consented to organ donation after receiving MAID. But let's be honest here. Who's verifying? Like, this is the question, right? Let's say that I play devil advocate and I don't trust my government. Let's say.
Yeah.
You know full well that those motherfuckers are trying to take every single organ that they can, and they don't care about getting a consent. Like, let's be honest here. If there's money to be made, motherfuckers are going to make money. Let's be honest.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Who's confirming? Who's literally confirming, okay, is the heart still in place? The lungs are there, the liver's there? Like, nobody. I just think there's just so much potential for abuse that abuse is almost inevitable. Like abuse of the system, of people who are not really appropriate candidates who are getting made, because you can't always trust. Like, sometimes people are. How many people who have survived suicide attempts are like, like years later, like, man, thank God, thank God I survived that, because life actually got better. Right? Like, I thought it never would, and it has. Like that, you hear that story all the time. That's why, like, giving MAID to mentally ill people who want to die in the moment is not, I just don't like it. It seems, again, just, and the labeling of teenagers as mature minors so that you can imply that they can consent to something like this. I don't know, man. That feels very, I think dystopian or Orwellian is the correct word. It's just same thing you see the woke left everywhere. They do. They just change the meaning of words and then think that they change the word and they think that changes the meaning of a word. Like, oh, of course, men can't go in the woman's bathroom, but if we just call that a woman and call him a trans woman, now he's a woman. Now he can go in the bathroom. Problem solved. There's no men in the bathroom. It's just a woman. But yeah, a woman with a penis. But it's the same thing. Like, oh well, no, they're not. We're not giving it to teenagers.
It's mature minors. Oh, okay. You mean teenagers? You just changed the word of them, but they're still the
100%.
same. The
But
things.
they're the mature one.
Yeah. They're the mature
teenagers.
ones. Yeah. And of course,
I was the prime example of that.
Is there a maturity test for this? How do you make sure that that one's mature? And of course, the only thing that makes them mature is that they've chosen MAID, because that's a mature decision. So if you've chosen MAID, you are by definition mature. Clearly, clearly mature enough to make that decision. It's just circular logic, circular reasoning.
If you look, it's estimated that the consent rate for the people that are approached, because obviously not everybody's approached, that's what they say, but they say that the consent rate is something between 16 to 34%. So I took the smallest of the numbers, 16%. We said 76,801 people have died of MAID. So potentially, if they ask everybody, that could have potentially been 12,288 people ready for harvest. I don't know if you ever looked at the numbers of a heart, of lungs, of livers. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars per organ.
Oh yeah. No, it's certainly big
like
business.
This is big business. Can you imagine opening up to anybody that has a mental illness? Because that's basically what the liberals want to do. They want to eventually open that up to anybody. Just, you know what? You don't feel well today? Did you think about talking to a psychologist? Oh no, that's true. It takes like 6 months.
Yeah, it's 8 months
for you to talk.
That.
Oh,
but the good news is we can get you MAID in a month.
It's 3 months. It's 3 months to get approved for MAID. Yeah, and it was something like 3 to 6 months to get a psychologist to see you, a state-provided psychologist. Yeah. You know that nice meme from the U.S.? If you get injured in the U.S., you might have to remortgage your house, sir. If you get sick in Canada, have you considered dying?
Yeah, have you considered MAID? There's a good comment here from Pam. So she says, it is your pound of flesh. Shouldn't choosing how you die be one of the last bastions of freedom of choice? I'm certainly sympathetic to that argument, Pam. As we talked about earlier in the show, we've both seen that there are cases where MAID is appropriate, and I used to date a girl, and her I think grandfather died of MAID, and he was an older guy. He was in pain with cancer, and he had a good long life, and he went on a time and place of his choosing, surrounded by his loved ones, not in pain. And to me, I thought, that's what it should be. Like I can get behind that if that's what it is. I think that the problem comes from, you're starting to hear more and more cases of people who are not really that kind of a candidate, right? It's people who might be suffering from just mental illness or depression, and now they're offering it to teenagers under the code word mature minors, and then you see that kind of mission creep. And even if you recognize that there is a place for it, you start to be like, okay, well, perhaps the potential for abuse that is baked into the system is so high that it's better to just not allow it at all. And I'm not even saying that's my position, but I'm definitely wavering that way. It's a fairly new topic. I think, a lot of people are still trying to figure out exactly how they feel about it. But yeah, it's very, it's. And then, of course, you have like anytime you're in a nation with a universal health care where the government's paying for, or I guess we are, but it's funded by the government. There's always going to be some bean counter, some bureaucrat somewhere making decisions that, you could see the system is incentivized to get sick people off. and the best way to do that is for them to not be alive anymore. So, it's kind of got some abuse almost baked into the system. And I think that's sort of where my concern's from.
But what do you expect from a society that does reaffirming care as its main psychology help? That's how we help people, is by reaffirming what they're saying and not questioning their decisions. So you can't be surprised that MAID is going to become more and more and more popular. It's again, you like the expression, it's baked in. That whole thing is baked in. You're literally telling people that they were born in the wrong body, give them all the drugs possible in order to prevent them from maturing. Then you're going to call them a mature minor and allow them to die? Like, you're telling me that this, you can't connect the dots right now? You're telling me that this is a conspiracy theory, what I'm saying? Of course not. It's very easy to see that this is the next stage. What's a mental illness? Gender and body dysphoria.
I mean, they're actual mental illness, right? It's so far
100%.
they're in the
DS5, DSM-5, I think we're at, has it as a mental illness. So what are we saying now? You know what? What's the term? Eutology? What is the shit? I always forget. Marion. What the Germans were accused of doing. Eugenics. Yeah. You know that this to me is almost eugenics. Like you look at you look at Planned Parenthood. The woman that started Planned Parenthood was a eugenicist. She was a renowned eugenicist.
Sure.
And if you look at the statistics, it's mostly black women in the US that are using Planned Parenthood. Now you're looking at this, you're going to have a very specific type of people that are going to be using that, the mentally ill. And by mentally ill, we refuse to treat them. We reinforce their mental illness and then say, you know what, when you can't cope anymore, here's MAID.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's pretty, and as I've said, right, how many people have survived a suicide attempt and then are thankful that they did, because at the time they could see no way out. But as we all know, life sometimes, gives you a way out, even when it feels like, it's rock bottom for you. So I think it's pretty dangerous to give those kind of people MAID. It's it's really a values decision. It's a values issue. What kind of values do you have? Do you think that society, because there are some people who would be sort of like almost pure I don't know what you even call them, accountabilists. Like me and you both believe in accountability, but who would say if someone says they want to die, they have the right to die. It doesn't matter what mental illness they have. I don't necessarily agree with that. But there are some people who believe that would be their position, and I think that's a fair position. I don't hold it, but I think it's fair to hold. So there is a lot of, it's a pretty nuanced discussion, but I definitely my position is not that we should outlaw it, but I think we should be more cautious with it than we are. I think we should go a lot slower than we are and think about a lot of these issues.
Bristle is saying, if MAID was around 25 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to make this comment.
So, and that's a great point. And how do you feel today, Bristle? And I think this might be your first comment. I don't recognize the name, but welcome. Please stick around. How do you feel today about it? Like, are you thankful that you were given? It'd be funny if it's like, no, I wish it was around. I still hate myself. I'm laughing because I assume it's not actually that. I'll feel shitty if it was.
No, you laugh because you're an asshole. That's why you're laughing.
Give us the update, Bristles. Tell us how that went, or to the extent that you're comfortable. Obviously, it may be a personal story. You may not be comfortable.
Shit, I didn't see those comments, but this is interesting. Proud Mama 4 saying 1 in 20 die in Canada via MAID. How are the alarm bells not going off? And remember, I had done the calculations. Like at 16,000, so 2024 is estimated 16,000. I think it becomes the third highest cause of death. But they don't count the suicide as part of MAID, which it is. Let's call a spade a spade. Suicides are another category, but bullshit. MAID is suicide. And if you start removing the MAID from the cancer that they had or what they actually had, I had made the calculation. It's like it's between the second and third cause of death in Canada has become suicide.
MAID? Ooh, that's, or suicide, I guess.
I said suicide because if you shoot yourself in the head and you take a lethal injection through MAID, it's suicide. You can call it whatever the fuck you want. It's still suicide.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that. It's suicide. Whether you agree, even if you agree with it, you have to admit that's what it is. In fact, That's the only way it's even appropriate, because the whole point of suicide is that the person decided. If it wasn't suicide, then it could only be murder. So, if it's not suicide, then we really need to take a hard look at it, because are these people not even making this decision? Bristle tube, they need to end this up. Yeah, so he says it's one of those issues where I think there's reasonable people on both sides. I don't think it's unreasonable at all to just want an end to it, period. I don't think it's reasonable or unreasonable at all to think it's appropriate in some cases. Like I said, it's not unreasonable either position. There's a lot of nuance and context. I wouldn't say I'm as far as bristle tube is, but I could get there. What are you Nico? Are you thinking like shut it down now, or do you still want some more?
Oh, my opinion is I don't think I could ever go to a state of mind where I would want to put a bullet in my head, or I would want to die. Sure. I don't see that ever happening. But like you said earlier, we talked about this before. My stepfather was he fought cancer, I would say 7 years, like throat cancer. They removed his esophagus, and he literally was doing chemo and radiation every 3 weeks or so. So he used to tell us that for every month that he was alive, he felt okay for a week while the treatment were taking effect, right? So for 6 or 7 years, he tried to battle it, and it wasn't going anywhere. He was just extending his life. Like, the expression they're trying to... Oh, yeah, they're just trying to make him comfortable. That's pretty much what doctors would tell him. And if it wasn't for my mother, he would have let himself die a long time, like way before his life ended. But my mother didn't want him to die. And, MAID didn't exist back then, because that's like, 9 years ago? It's probably like 1 year before MAID was created. And he would have taken it. You know what scared him the most? He's one of the smartest guy I've ever been around. And he did not want to lose his mental faculty.
Sure.
He didn't care that he was 145 pounds compared to the 200 pounds he was, that he was gray. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't lay down because he has no esophagus. He had to always be angled in order to sleep. So, all little things that we take for granted that he can't do anymore. So would he have taken it? Yes. Can I understand in a situation? Sure, I can. Because the only reason he stayed alive is that he wanted to make sure my mom got his pension, because he's ex-military. He wanted to make sure that my mom got the life insurance, because if he popped a bullet in his head, obviously she wouldn't have got that. So he literally stayed alive for years just to save my mom, just to make sure my mom was taken care of.
I wonder what the insurance implications are of MAID, because as you said, if you commit suicide, you often can't collect on an insurance policy. I wonder if you choose MAID, if that's different.
I'd have to look into it, but like you said, I see why people could use it, but that it's going to be abused left, right, and center, and organ harvesting is just a matter. Oh, sorry, organ donation. Sure. Max is here. Maxime Bernier is here. You want to give me a thumbs up if you're ready to go, Max? Yeah. So we'll bring on Maxime Bernier, the leader of the PPC party. He's joining us today because Max looks like he's being accused of hate crime. And yes, he's laughing. Max, what's going on?
Great. Thank you. I'm very, very pleased to be with you tonight.
Hey, Max, how's it going?
Great.
I saw your I saw your post, and I reached out because I'm like, here we go. Because obviously you're the right person for that to happen to. I'm just gonna pop your post here so that people can see it, because I found your original one. You didn't post that on your X, right? It was only on your Facebook.
It was on X. And maybe Facebook, but it was on X, yes.
Because the post that the thing that you reposted from the lady that's accusing you of hate speech or hate crime, hate crime. Yeah. So here's what Maxime said 6 days ago. On this National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, let's remember that no bodies were found, that the residential school genocide is a hoax and that reconciliation requires an end to the BS, the victim mentality, the fake white guilt, and the grifting based on it. And you know what, Max? When I saw that, I'm like, that's it. I said a lot worse than that on that
was
same
the
day.
hate
So
crime?
yes. So this is the post, and this is what you posted. I believe it was the day after. And you've been approached. That was something that you received. That's an email that you received from
Yes.
media in order for you to give your opinion on what's going on. But since that post, AFN National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenack said she is reporting Bernier to the police for hate crime. What is Bernier and the PPC's response to this? So what is Maxime Bernier and the PPC?
PPC's response?
Oh my
I
God.
want to know.
She's actually, she's not fit to be a leader of the First Nation, the Assembly of First Nations. And what she's trying to do is to just cancel and telling lies to Canadians about what happened. And what I said was everything was based on facts. And I've read the book by the professor Tom Flanagan from the Calgary University. He wrote a book in 2023, and he called that book, the title of that book was Grave Error. Grave Error. So that's a nice title. And in 2021 in Kamloops, the Indian residential school, they said there's 215 students missing, and that was a genocide. And so since 2021, they tried to find these graves, and they didn't find anything, nothing. And so that's a lie. And they're using that to promote their ideology and try to cancel people who don't speak, don't think like them. So we need to have that real debates. But actually, it's not happening right now. And as you know, also, the minister in Ottawa in charge of the Indigenous Affairs, she said that what I said was not true, but she didn't give any arguments supporting what she said. So the facts are there, and now you need to speak about that. And what they want to do is to cancel. And I'm a politician, and like all Canadians, I'm free to express my point of view. And that being said, yes, she did complain to the police. I'm still waiting for the police. And I can tell you, if the police is coming to my house, you'll see that video on social media. It's what I said was only the truth. And let's have that debate. And I'm very pleased that at least the mainstream media did do something about that. It was not in my favor, but at least they did report what I said. And that's a way to start that conversation.
Max, I said something. This is the perfect day for a government to tell us the truth that no mass grave were ever found near residential schools and reconcile the fact that because of their lies, over 100 Christian churches have been burned to the ground in Canada. That was my post. And,
Maybe,
it's a fact.
maybe you'll have the police also that will come at your house and ask you questions. But
That's okay.
at least right now, we don't have the Bill C9. The Bill C9 is not in force. But if the Bill C9, I hope it won't, but if the Bill C9 is in force, it's all about, ending our freedom of expression. And yes, it can be like in UK right now. As you may know, there's about 15 arrests in UK every day about people who wrote something on social media that their opponent didn't like. But the freedom of expression and the freedom of speech is to protect the speeches that you don't like. So and I don't want that happen here in Canada like in UK. That's why we are against the Bill C9. But maybe if the Bill C9 is in force in a couple of months, we won't be in a free society anymore in Canada.
Yeah, Max, you brought up a couple things there. The first is that, what's going on in the UK, and that's pretty scary. I think we're all seeing videos, seems every couple days, of some 70-year-old or 60-year-old grandparent getting a knock on the door by 4 cops at 2 a.m. because of a tweet they posted. And I think a lot of people are not aware this is going on, but it is, and it is in the UK, a very close country to us, very close in culture, and it can happen here as well. And I also, you had mentioned that free speech is meant to protect speech you don't like, and that's a point a lot of people don't really seem to get these days. Is you don't need to protect popular speech. Everyone already agrees with it. It doesn't need protection. It's the speech you might not agree with. So I wanted to ask, have you had any blowback from this? And officially, you haven't had a knock on the door by the Mounties or anything like that?
Not right now, not right now. Maybe it can happen. I received the visit of the police during COVID-19 at my house maybe 2 or 3 times because I was doing rallies, and they wanted to give me tickets and telling me that, I risk to have more fines if I'm not following the law. And I did not, as you know, like other politicians at the provincial level, not in Ottawa. Actually, everybody were in favor of these lockdowns, but I was fighting for that. So I would be surprised if I have the visit of the police on a tweet like that. It will be, if that happen, actually, you'll know it. I'll put everything on social media. But that being said, it's a new way of trying to cancel or silence your political opponents. It is like tyrants. They're using the police to silence you. And the chief wanted to do that. She wanted to use the police to try to silence me, and telling the truth, actually, because I'm challenging everybody. Tell me what I said if there's something that is not true. Just tell me that. And nobody did it up to now, and they weren't able to do it. So let's have that discussion. But yeah, we are in a very difficult time for our freedoms here in Canada, and we need to fight.
But it's not even just Canada, Mexico today, because obviously we spoke about the UK, we spoke about what's going on in Australia. You're starting to see what's happening in France and Germany. People are starting to stand up like, whoa, 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 this needs to stop. But then the Mexican President's Party today, they announced a new law. They're trying to pass a new law called anti-meme law. And if you make fun of a public figure, you could be facing anywhere between 3 to 6 years in prison for a meme. So that's happening all over the West. Here in Canada, like you said, people can accuse you of hate speech or hate crime, but it's not yet a crime. But considering that they're pushing Bill C2, Bill C8, Bill C9, and they've said that they would retable Bill C63, which they all have, I've read all of those bills, and they all have portions of censorship and surveillance in every single bill. They spread it out over 4 bills, right? Do you think that's what they're doing? They're trying to censor us from many different ways so that we can't figure out, or the average person won't figure out that that's exactly what they're doing. That's why they're splitting it into 4 bills.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And look what they did for the doctors who were, against the COVID shot. The big Google and all these tech firm decided to cancel them and shadow ban them, and that was very efficient. And I think they have learned from that, and they want to do the same for everybody in the population. With the Bill C8, they can disconnect you from the internet. You won't be able to have an internet providers. You won't be able to express your point of view on social media. That's the Bill C8. And C2, it's crazy. It's about being sure that they're gonna shut down everybody who is not in line with the government narrative. And I think they want to do that. They saw during COVID that, we were there online and in person, and, fightings and doing some rallies. And the last one, as you know, was the Freedom Convoy. They didn't like that. And I think they want to use that. But all that is coming from the UN, it's coming from the World Economic Forum. That's their philosophy. And like you said, they are imposing that in Canada, in UK, and in other countries. But we are a sovereign country. We can decide which legislation we will pass or not. And so now that's the Carney government. And Carney, the first thing that he did when he was elected is to go to Europe and UK and speaking with all these globalists or leftists. So he's bringing these ideas and legislations here in Canada. And it's a fight that we must do. But a lot of people don't realize what is happening in our country right now, and that's a wake-up call. Just the fact that the chief called the police on my tweet, people must wake up. And it's happening, and it will happen more if these bills passed in Parliament this fall.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to highlight here is, first of all, even if you gave an opinion that maybe was offensive, that should still be allowed. That's what free speech allows.
Cares?
But exactly. But it wasn't even that. This is not your opinion. These are just facts. There really were not one body has been found. Not one grave has been found. That's not Maxime Bernier's opinion. It's wild when we're getting to a place where uncomfortable facts are now hate speech. That's a pretty scary place.
And they try to criminalize your emotions. And if I can just read the new definition in the Bill C9 about hate crimes, they said, it would make it illegal, the Bill C9, to express emotions of hatred defined as, and I quote, emotions that involved detestation or vilification, and that is stronger than dislike.
More than disdain.
So it's huge. It can be everything. Anything. It can be. It's very, very dangerous, and we don't know what the opposition, the Conservatives and Poilievre will do. Poilievre said that he will vote against C2, but what about C8 and C9? What about the Bloc Québécois in Quebec? All these establishment politicians must wake up and work for us, the population.
There's only one that I wanted to bring up, and it's funny, I wanted to bring that up because there's only one, as for what I know, that spoke against C8 and C9. It's a woman by the name of Dr. Leslyn Lewis. She's a conservative. I posted her video this morning. She went against C8. She was bang on. She used an example of a woman saying something against the government, getting her internet cut off. She was bang on. Everything she said was bang on. And then she published another video. I haven't had time to watch it, but it's about Bill C9. So yes, you're right. Poilievre spoke about C2, but he forgot some of the most important parts of C2, like the fact that they can install spyware on your phone and remove it just to inspect you. But they said electronic devices. So it's anything, considering that today could be your fridge, could be obviously your laptop, but everything is electronic nowadays, and so many things are connected to the internet. But the point is that it took, 2 months for Pierre Poilievre to talk about C2? Now... But now they're talking about C8, C9. I don't know. To me, if that was me, I would be flipping tables. That is all I would be talking about. If you look at my social media, I've been talking about it basically every day. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, this cannot pass. That means I have to leave the country or I'm going to go to jail. Because there's no timeline on this either, right? They didn't put any timestamp as in, okay, so if I wrote something a year ago and it's hurting your feelings today, because obviously the internet never forgets. Am I still going to be accused? Of course I will.
Yeah, absolutely. What Poilievre is doing right now, I know them. So they are taking times to do pollings and focus group.
Yeah.
And, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, Poilievre will come with a nice new slogan against or for the bill. I don't know. But that's the way they're doing politics. But the common sense is, evident there. You cannot accept a bill like that in a democratic country. We have a charter of rights and all that. They can do that without the approval of a judge, without a warrant. The police will be the judge about hate crime. Somebody can complain to the police like the chief did to me a couple of days ago, and the police will decide, and they can come and speak with you, and you can go in jail for expressing your emotions or your point of view. It will be an authoritarian country. I cannot. That will be the fact.
Yeah, we earlier in the broadcast we were discussing MAID, but we said we used the word dystopian and Orwellian, several times, and I feel like that also applies, to this conversation here. That definition you read from Bill C8 about what hate is. We actually did a pretty deep dive into that bill a few weeks back, and we lock onto that sentence too. This idea that it's worse than disdain. It evokes emotion that is stronger than it's not as bad as dislike, but worse than disdain. And it's like how can you apply a legal standard to that, right? How can you prove that in a court of law? Like, here's the evidence that this person they didn't just dislike it. It was more than disdain. It's a nonsensical concept, and this is being written into law. If nothing else, this is just bad law, bad policy.
And we know that maybe every Canadian had these emotions. Bad emotions are normal. You can have a disdain for somebody or dislike somebody. That's normal. And so that's why they want to criminalize your emotions. And I never saw that in any legislation before. And I don't know why, we're supposed to have, more people speaking against that, but only one group who are defending, our rights, the civil society. I forgot their name. They wrote, they wrote to the federal government about that. But, the mainstream media are not there. It's like, it's normal, and the Global Mail, the National Post, La Presse here in Montreal, they didn't write anything about these bills, and that's important. They're in Parliament right now, and the debate is starting. So these bills can be enforced before Christmas.
Before we let you go, I wanted to ask you, because tomorrow at 10 a.m. we should be hearing the decision on the court case of Chris Barber and Tamara Lynch. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I hope that they won't have any more time in jail, because they were in jail. That's it. That must end. But I don't trust these judges. They're woke, and so I'll be there. I'll watch that also at 10 o'clock. And we, the People's Party, were always behind them, and since the beginning of all that. And, I hope that they did their time, and the next step would be for them to sue the federal government for the freedom that they lost for nothing. So in a civil court, I don't know if they'll do it. I think they will after that. But, it will be huge if they have to go back in jail. We'll see. But also the Crown were asking for how many years more in jail? That was crazy. 15 years or something like that. I don't remember exactly.
7. It was 7 to 8 years for mischief.
7, yeah, that's crazy. So
Wow.
We'll see that tomorrow. But I'm behind them 100%.
Max, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank you for telling us what's going on. I'll keep in touch, because I'm really curious to see what happens when either or, the police shows up to your place to complain. So I'd love for you to come back to speak about the video that you'll release online. But thanks for being here, Max.
Yeah, thank you, Nico. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, guys. Yes, for sure. Time, I'll keep you informed. Have a nice evening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you do.
Bye, Max.
Bye.
Nice guy. I like Max.
Yeah.
Good interview too.
You know what? Love that guy or hate that guy. whatever, that's your opinion, no problem. One thing that I gotta say is that he never asked for questions. He's never asked me. It's the second time he's on the show. It's the second time I deal with his people to have him on. They never asked for an agenda. They didn't ask what are the questions you're gonna ask. Like they did. I just told him, hey, I'd like to talk to Max because he because of the tweet that he made, and now he's being accused of hate crime. He's like, okay, I like, can he be there on Monday, 7:30?
Think how many layers,
8:30.
Think how many layers of vetting you'd have to go through to get to Polyev. You'd have to go through.
Just look at the type of podcast he makes. He makes the only podcast he appears on.
They would give us the questions. And of course, we wouldn't do that. That's not really what we're all about. But you know, like the guy or hate him, what he's talking about today, really, that shouldn't be a partisan issue. That really has nothing to do with. You know, he talked a little bit about the convoy or whatnot, and that's, you know, fair play. He can talk about whatever he wants. But the main issue, the free speech issue, has nothing to do with the PPC or the right or the left or anything. This is about. It shouldn't. Yes, this is about free speech. Period. And you know, it's under serious attack. We just don't need these hate speech bills. You know, we had a lawyer on, civil rights lawyer, a couple weeks back. Remember, he was saying judges already have to consider if there was hate involved, and that would be an aggravating factor in sentencing. That's enough. We don't need to add more. Like, frankly, these are the only crimes that are really even getting, you know, the full weight of the government coming down on it. And if you want to do that, okay, sure. But like at the same time as you're not coming down hard at all on rape, on robbery, on murder, on drunk driver, guys with 6, 7, 8 DUIs, on trying to have sex with 15-year-olds by immigrants who aren't even citizens, and they get lighter sentences so that it will not affect their immigration status. I'm sorry, but we want to affect the immigration status of pedophiles. We don't want pedophiles in the country. And unfortunately, we can't get rid of the ones that were born here. There's nothing, we can put them in jail, but we cannot kick them out of the country. But the ones we can kick out of the country, let's kick them the fuck out. You know, it's not, with the example that we're talking about here, he wasn't even a citizen yet. It would have been easy. You know, there'd be no messy hearings about stripping citizenship. Just see ya. There's the door.
Hey guys, if you like this conversation, make sure to make sure if you're on X, make sure to restream this stream. If you're on Instagram, make sure to like the stream as well. But the conversation really happens on YouTube. So if you guys want to be part of the conversation, make sure to come to the YouTube channel at the Political Orphans. Subscribe, hit that little bell so that you're notified when we go live, because we go live all the time, 5 times a week. And now we're adding, I think right now it's going to be like 13 times a week. It's going to be absolutely insane, like 12 times a week. But yeah, make sure to subscribe. And if you believe in independent media, consider becoming a member on the YouTube channel, $2.99 a month. Or you can give us just a tip at Buy Me a Coffee. So yeah, I you know, again, love him or hate him, he's always honest, and he answers the question, and he doesn't need to be explained prior to the interview, which I wish more politicians were like that. I wish more politicians were just like him and ready to take interviews. And that's, you know, we talked about this a lot during the election. That was my biggest gripe with Polyev, is that he wouldn't do any interviews. He wouldn't do any podcasts. He wouldn't do anything Joe Rogan wanted. Joe Rogan wanted him on his podcast. And to tell me that this wouldn't have swayed the electors, of course it would have. Of course it would have swayed. It's the biggest fucking podcast on the planet. You got the chance to go on the biggest podcast on the planet during election time, where he's going to talk to you for 3 fucking hours, where people can relate to you and not see you just as a suit. You fucking do it.
I swear, man, there are insiders like in the political system in Canada that watch this show and take our talking points. Because did you hear Maxine? Did you hear his complaints about Polyev? Literally the same shit we've been saying. We've been saying for months. This guy he doesn't speak unless he's run the sentence through focus groups, and he's all slogans. And it's literally exactly what Max said. He said focus groups and slogans. I'm like, yeah, bro, I know. We've been saying this for months. But that's the thing with Polyev. And I think in some ways you could be like, well, of course it would have helped him to go to Rogan. But honestly, it might not have because he's Polyev. It certainly would have helped him if he was a good politician and went on Rogan. It's the same thing with Kamala Harris. If she had actually gone on, because, Joe Rogan, again, like him or hate him, he's going to have a substantial conversation with you. And it's not even that he's like this brilliant interviewer. It's just you're there for 2 hours. He's going to go through everything. You can't fake it for 2 hours, right? At some point, we're going to see the real you. And that's why I think a Joe Rogan interview is so valuable. If you're an authentic politician, if you're a genuine politician, people are actually going to see that. And if you're a Pierre Poilievre or a Kamala Harris, maybe it's actually smarter not to go because people are going to see that you're just an empty suit. You're just an empty barrel. But at the end of the day, it was still a bad choice because he really had no other option. He was down so far in the polls, didn't change his strategy at all. Just played it super, super safe all the way through. It was just like he was paralyzed. To go on Joe Rogan, it certainly wouldn't hurt him. And it could have very well helped him. But I mean, that's why he didn't go, because it would have hurt him. Because he's very good at politicking. But he needs a speech prepared. He needs to know exactly what he's going to be talking about. Yeah. That all the interviews that he's done recently have all been scripted. Yep. They've all been scripted. None of them are asking him real questions. None of them. So no, I think that's the deal.
And you know what?
You get access, and we get to dictate the questions, what you're going to say.
But like many people say, to me, he's just controlled opposition. Like if the last election did not show that to people, I don't know what will, because I swear that guy does not want to be the leader of Canada. He does not want to. It seems that he will do everything possible not to become prime minister. Remember, I talked about that a lot during the election, where people were saying, it wasn't fair. Pierre Poilievre got the candidate change on him. It was supposed to be Trudeau, and he was demolishing Trudeau. And I'm like, yeah, guys, love or hate Trump. They switched Biden. He was dominating Biden by the same numbers Pierre Poilievre was dominating Trudeau. Yet when they switched Kamala Harris, what did he do? Start recording podcasts. Start going for the younger crowds that probably don't listen to mainstream media, that don't get their news from there anymore. He literally had the perfect blueprint from like 2 months prior to the election. It was fresh. It was right there, like just a few months before the election. He knew exactly what to do. Just follow the blueprint. Don't speak like him because you're not him. But do the same tactics. Put your face out there. Record lives. And it's funny enough, now he started recording lives. Like, you've been saying this for, what was the election? In April. Fucking April, man.
We'll got a few more minutes. We'll take a few comments for we put a bow in it. Mike McKenzie says, all this is an act. Again, if the cons had won, they would have had to make real change. So by doing the rigged election, they act like they're opposed to not cause civil unrest on it. Essentially, you're saying some version of this uniparty thing. Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. They certainly don't seem like a very spirited opposition to me. I'm a liberal, and I feel like I have more complaints about this government than the Conservative Party does. And Alberta Nan, a day late and $1 short. Yeah, I mean that's Polyev, and it's related to what Max said, and something we say all the time is there's just always a delay with this guy because he won't say a thing that he hasn't ran through focus groups. He hasn't ran through the DEI section of the Conservative Party, or the HR, or the politically correct, to see who's going to be offended, and triangulating this fire to make sure that it offends it's the safest possible statement to make at all times. And you can't win like that. You certainly can't win as an opposition leader. You have to take risks. You have to say things that might not be popular, but whatever you might lose for the few idiots that are offended, you're going to gain in all the people who are desperately starving for an authentic politician who just says what he means. And most people won't even care if they disagree with the guy from time to time. I think most people are reasonable and they expect that that's going to happen. They don't expect that someone's going to agree on every single thing. And they would much rather someone disagrees with them sometimes, but just says what he fucking thinks so that we can actually make a decision if we want this guy or girl to represent us as our elected leaders.
Amen, brother.
A couple more there. Trevor says, not one of us ever hard to work a hard day in the life. Yeah, the career, we rail about career politicians all the time. There's got to be some sort of I don't know how you end it. Term limits, I guess.
I don't know how you end it. Outside of revamping the whole system, I don't know how you change what we have right now. Because, just to get elected right now, just to become the leader of the party, of the liberal or the conservative, it's above 200 grand.
That's crazy. Just to even get into the election for the leader. And of course, that's gatekeeping. It's designed so that they basically have control, or they don't let the riffraff in, right? They don't let people who might just come in and be a charismatic politician because they say things that people want to hear. They don't want that guy. They want someone either that can be controlled, or I think they know if you can afford $200K for that, you're probably on their side anyways. They don't even need to control you. They know that your interests are aligned with theirs. Or if it's more the other way where they have to shuffle or fundraise at $200K, well, now you're bought, right? Now they control you. That's the only way an average Joe could get that, that kind of money together for that. Is if he's funded, if he has a patron behind him, and if once you have that, your voice is not your own.
They don't want a regular guy that's charismatic, just a guy from the people that's been just a regular dude. Oh, of course, and we're not going to see that anytime soon. And again, love Max or not, nobody can convince me that they didn't do it on purpose to remove him from the debates. Because they keep on changing the requirements for appearance on the debates. And that why they did that. Because Logan right here is saying that at the Political Orphans, if Poliev stole Bernier's self-defense policy and implemented it in the CPC mandate, he would have gotten my vote. Think about it this way. Pierre Poliev is such a liberal that Mark Carney could steal his axe the tax idea, change the background to red, add a little liberal logo to it, and it passed. You couldn't tell the difference. That's how much of a liberal he is. But I agree with you. If Pierre Poliev would take some of the recommendations that Maxime Bernier is making, like let's say Castle Doctrine, like trying to reduce government size, disconnect from the WEF, the WHO, we can take our own decisions, put an end to immigration until we figure out what we do next. Very simple things are technically conservative in nature. He would have won. But he doesn't have the balls to say those things because, again, like we've said a million times, it wouldn't do well through focus group. He would hurt the feelings of the lefties, yet the lefties will never vote for him because the lefty in Canada believes that he's a conservative. I like to shit post on people's posts on X, when I scroll and I just see something and they're like calling out Pierre Poliev. I'm like, guys, I don't like Pierre Poliev, and I can tell you the reason I don't like him is because he's a liberal. So stop acting like he's a conservative. He's not a conservative. You're literally shit hating on a liberal. You're shitting on your own. So stop.
Yeah. Yep, 100%. Guys, we're going to pin it there. As you remember, we are trying to cut it short, keep it a little briefer to get along with the algorithm. Apparently doesn't like these 2-hour episodes of ours. Excellent show tonight. Great guests, great questions, great comments. Guys, if you are just tuning in, you want to support the show, please consider becoming a member. You can do that through YouTube, or you can send us a coffee. through the QR code in the top right. And if nothing else, at least share the stream and come back tomorrow. As you can see, the show is heavily based on audience engagement and participation. Throw us a few comments in there. If you agree with us, if you disagree with us, we want to hear from it, and we'll talk about it. Final comment. I think arguing about Max is a waste of time. He's never going to be in power. I mean, that's fair. He is not going to be in power. He isn't, frankly, that kind of a charismatic politician. You kind of need that if you're going to be this kind of outsider type party, if you want to grab power. I don't know that he's got that pure. He's really more of an establishment politician. He has been most of his career, right, in the Conservative Party. It was only when they went, whatever caused him to leave the Conservative Party, they kind of went renegade. But that's not really his brand. That's not his strength. His strength was as a establishment. I believe he was the foreign minister or something, basically the Secretary of State.
It's his accent. I've said this so many times as a French guy. The biggest hurdle for a lot of Canadians is his accent.
It is. So, it is. I mean, that's not fair. It's dumb, but it is reality. It is true. It is what it is. A large part of Barack Obama's success was just his pure oratory skills. Again, like the guy or hate him, he was a powerful
the fact that he was black kind of made him president. Let's be honest here.
That helps.
For a second here.
But the point is it's not to be overlooked. The ability to and I'm not French. Max very well might be that kind of charismatic in the French language in his native tongue, but in English it just doesn't translate.
Agreed.
I doubt Barack Obama would be an amazing orator in Russian, or Chinese, even if he could learn the language. It's just, often you have to be a native speaker to have that kind of command of it. Other than that, folks, we're going to pin it right there. And have a great rest of your night, and we will see you tomorrow. What do we have any guests tomorrow?
Not that I know of. Not up to now, but I'm always trying to book people. So we'll see you tomorrow.
You never know. See you tomorrow, folks. Peace.